Y'all already know the rules. When you come in my house, take off your shoes and super violate that like button. It don't cost nothing for you to hit that like button. Shall we begin? Shall we begin?
My great fellow Americans, earlier today on the eve of the Thanksgiving holiday, two members of the National Guard serving in Washington, D.C., were shot at point-blank range in a monstrous ambush-style attack just steps away from the White House. They had been deputized as part of the most successful public safety and national security mission in the history of our nation's capital, the D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force, which has achieved an unprecedented reduction in violent crime and crimes of all type. This heinous assault was an act of evil, an act of hatred, and an act of terror. It was a crime against our entire nation. It was a crime against humanity. The hearts of all Americans tonight are with those two members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families. The love of our entire country is pouring out for them, and we are lifting them up in our prayers. As we are filled with anguish and grief for those who were shot, we're also filled with righteous anger and ferocious resolve. As President of the United States, I am determined to ensure that the animal who perpetrated this atrocity pays the steepest possible price. I can report tonight that based on the best available information, the Department of Homeland Security is confident that the suspect in custody is a foreigner who entered our country from Afghanistan, a hellhole on earth. He was flown in by the Biden administration in September 2021 on those infamous flights that everybody was talking about. Nobody knew who was coming in. Nobody knew anything about it. His status was extended under legislation signed by President Biden, a disastrous president, the worst in the history of our country. This attack underscores the single greatest national security threat facing our nation. The last administration let in 20 million unknown and unvetted foreigners from all over the world, from places that you don't want to even know about. No country can tolerate such a risk to our very survival. An example is Minnesota, where hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. Billions of dollars are lost, and gangs of Somalians come from a country that doesn't even have a government, no laws, no water, no military, no nothing. As their representatives in our country preach to us about our Constitution and how our country is no good. We're not going to put up with these kind of assaults on law and order by people who shouldn't even be in our country. We must now re-examine every single alien who has entered our country from Afghanistan under Biden, and we must take all necessary measures to ensure the removal of any alien from any country who does not belong here or add benefit to our country. If they can't love our country, we don't want them. America will never bend and never yield in the face of terror. And at the same time, we will not be deterred from the mission these service members were so nobly fulfilling. That is why tonight I can announce that I have directed the Department of War to mobilize an additional 500 troops to help protect our capital city. We will make America totally safe again, and we will bring the perpetrator of this barbaric attack to swift and certain justice if the bullets going in the opposite direction haven't already done that. During this time of the year, when we gather at home with loved ones, these two patriots were wearing the uniform of our country, patrolling the streets of our capital. They had taken a selfless oath to defend our nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that is exactly what they were doing when they were gunned down in a savage attack. I want to express my extraordinary gratitude to every member of the United States military who is deployed tonight at home and abroad. I also want to thank the Secret Service and the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department for their work today. This Thanksgiving, I ask every family to say a prayer for the two great heroes who were so horribly shot, and for their loved ones. Please say a prayer. May God bless them and comfort them, and may God bless and protect the United States of America. Thank you and good night.
So this 29-year-old Afghan shoots two National Guardsmen. He shot these Americans. They claim he yelled Allahu Akbar. So maybe he hates America. Maybe he hates what America is doing with Israel and Gaza. Maybe he hates what America did in Afghanistan. Who knows? But we have to understand exactly what this is. When the United States conducted its operation in Afghanistan over the last 20 years, we recruited the locals to help in many different capacities as we were fighting the conflict. As security forces, military forces, as translators, and this is why he was brought to America under the program. It's called Allies Welcome. Why is it called Allies Welcome? Because these are not just any refugees. These are not women and children. These are not fleeing refugees. Not Allies Welcome. These are collaborators. These are collaborationists. These are not Afghans that were with the Taliban or ISIS-K. These are Afghans who were working with the United States military and special forces and probably working with them for many years. Is this guy a fanatical Muslim? It would seem not, on the basis of how he came here. He didn't come here as a refugee. He came here basically as a U.S. mercenary. Big difference. He was fleeing persecution and violence because he was a U.S. government employee. And it raises some questions. Understanding this, you might wonder, so this is not, Ramanullah, the Taliban member. This is Ramanullah, the government employee. What did they do to this guy? Who is this guy? It begs the question, did they put him up to this? If he was being handled by the U.S. military, what is their responsibility in all this? It is true that there's a lot of chaos and violence in the Middle East. It's also true that Israel and the United States have far-reaching geopolitical ambitions there. Israel wants territory in a number of countries. They want Gaza and the West Bank to be absorbed. They want South Lebanon. They want South Syria. They want regime change in Iran. They want operations in Yemen and Syria and Iraq. And the United States wants its air base in Bagram back. That's what the Trump administration said. Why is it important for the United States to have a military base in Afghanistan? Does anybody know? A lot of people don't look at a map. A lot of people don't know their geography, and that's the problem. The reason the United States wants a military base in Afghanistan is because Afghanistan shares a border with China. And specifically, Afghanistan borders East Turkestan, which is where all those troublesome Uyghur Muslims are from. And so if you wanted to spy on China, if you wanted a foothold to project power against China in Central Asia, if you wanted to monitor some of the border disputes or things going on, if you wanted to monitor their activities, maybe you wanted to foment chaos in China, form a land bridge, not just with China, but with their most troublesome population, through Afghanistan might be the way to do it.
You remember how yesterday I came on screen, I was like, oh my God, we should watch out for false flags. Yeah. I was like, ooh, this sounds a little suspect, because why would that happen in DC? It's like the most protected area on the planet. And then I sat here and I said, the dude, I don't know, you can't just walk up to an agent and currently shoot them right in the face. That's some gangsta homeland shit. And you know how I said Operation Northwood, how they wanted to plant an attack and it was done by CIA, and then John F. Kennedy told them no. It was confirmed today that the shooter was a CIA agent in Afghanistan. Not only that, he was led in this country legally with a record under Trump's administration. Not only that, it was this administration that told you, and the agency confirmed out loud for some reason, doesn't even make any sense. The agency confirmed he was a CIA agent. Because this agency doesn't know anything about secrets. Was that a false flag? Was that a situation that was supposed to erupt us? Why would you tell us? What's the benefit of you telling us that that man was a CIA agent? To cause havoc. They are trying to incite a civil war. And it is right in your face. You know we gotta go live. CM5.
Breaking news update. I truly believe what just happened outside the White House yesterday may have been a false flag operation. Once you hear the shooter's background, you'll see why I'm saying this. The suspect is a 29-year-old Afghan national who spent over 10 years as an elite soldier in Afghanistan's Commando Corps, fighting side by side with U.S. Special Forces in Kandahar. Multiple news outlets confirm he was part of a CIA-backed Kandahar Strike Force, a super secret unit that carried out night raids, targeted killings, and black ops completely outside the normal Afghan military chain of command. We all know that the CIA and Mossad are one entity. This wasn't some random refugee. This guy was trained, paid, and run by the CIA. In 2021, during the chaotic withdrawal, the US government gave him a special immigrant visa, brought him here, granted him asylum, and let him settle in Washington state. And now, out of nowhere, he's allegedly screaming Allahu Akbar and shoots 2 unarmed American National Guardsmen just blocks from the White House. In my opinion, this man never stopped being a CIA asset. Did our own intelligence community bring their highly trained operative here, keep him on the shelf, and activated him when they needed another terror attack to scare the public or push new laws? 2 American soldiers are fighting for their lives right now, and I think there's a big possibility that our government, along with Mossad, may have been involved in this. That's my view, and the facts about who this guy really was only make me more convinced that the possibility of a false flag happened.
So it's kind of crazy how every high-profile act of domestic political violence perfectly reinforces the agenda of the administration. And I don't want to be that guy, but this whole National Guard ambush right outside the White House thing yesterday would be a lot less sketchy if the shooter, an Afghan national, hadn't worked with Joint Special Operations Command and the CIA for 10 years. It would also be a whole lot less sketchy if Trump didn't say this 2 months ago.
We're going to keep Bagram, the big air base, one of the biggest air bases in the world. The reasons we want the base is, as you know, it's an hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. So a lot of things are happening.
Also way less sketchy if Afghanistan didn't sit smack dab in the center of the Russia-China-Iranian energy axis. And again, it would seem totally less sketchy if all these high-profile acts of violence, from Trump's ear getting not shot, to Iranian operatives trying to shoot him again and not shooting him, to exploding Teslas outside of hotels, to finding a clip of engraved Antifa bullets in a parking lot, to Big Balls getting his ass beat by a bunch of teenagers in D.C., to Charlie Kirk, to this ambush of National Guard soldiers. All these acts of violence seem perfectly crafted to justify and expand the agenda of the Trump administration. Totally crazy if you're neurologically incapable of pattern recognition. Anyways, on this colonial genocidal holiday, you can show your conspiracy-addled uncle, try to get him to do mental gymnastics to blame it all on the Jews instead of like capitalist power politics. But yeah, see y'all tomorrow.
At this point, I'm at a loss for words. We living in a day and a time where we don't know who to trust. We can't trust the people in power. 1 minute, the soldiers passed away. The next minute, they still alive. Then you come to find out that the dude that aired these soldiers out works for the CIA. They work for the government. My advice to anybody that's watching me, stack up on food. Stack up on water. Have an escape plan. Escape from what? Think of anything that you could possibly think of that's the worst of the worst. I mean, at the end of the day, you got superpower countries, superpowers, preparing and testing missiles, nuclear weapons. You got the earth doing a pole shift, and we seeing storms like we ain't never seen before. We hearing rumors about terrorist cells running around America. Evil never takes a day off. Evil never takes a day off. So you better sleep with one eye open. Live life as if you want to run. And stay dangerous at the same time. Don't get caught slipping. Get right or get left. I'm telling you. We living in times where it's not a game. It's not a game. And I know some of you people, you think everything is, well, you know, I'm just going to work and coming home like it can't happen. Yes, it can. And whatever's to come, I don't know what's to come. I'd rather be ready than at the mercy of evil. I'd rather be ready than at the mercy of evil. Hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe button. Pay attention to your circle before they hurt you. I'm out.